Does it matter for your specialty, Ukraine?
I think Rick Davis in your previous segment called it. It's whatever gets it done fastest. That's all we want is just get the assistance to these nations out the door as quickly as possible because lives are on the line in both countries. What's really striking is the similarity of what's happening. The drone and missile attacks against Israel, 300 of them in one night, very similar to what Russia does to Ukraine almost every night, even with the same weapons. They're Iranian drones in both cases. And so both of them need the air defense systems to be able to protect themselves. And in terms of Ukraine, I have no doubt that this is going to pass massively. There's a vast majority of congressmen, both parties, who support aid to Ukraine. Just a matter of getting it to the floor. And whether that's coupled with Israel or separate from Israel, I don't think it's going to matter because I think the Ukraine aid will pass.
I think it was John Kirby who earlier described that Saturday night in the skies over Israel as being every night in the skies over Ukraine. Ambassador, can we take the experience of last weekend, considering the urgency of the moment, and apply it to both scenarios?
Absolutely, because it is exactly the same circumstance. It is an aggressor, Russia in one case, Iran in another, deliberately attacking the civilian population of another country with drones, with missiles, rockets, and they need the ability to defend themselves. One of the interesting things is that in the case of Israel, the US and UK and France and Jordan all joined in to help Israel defend itself against this Iranian attack. We're not doing that in the case of Ukraine, and it's a good question as to why. Why are we not protecting Ukrainian civilians the way we're protecting Israeli civilians? We should do both. But at a minimum, we should get the funding passed to get the equipment out the door so that Ukraine has the air defense missiles to refill the batteries so they can protect their citizens, just as Israel is protecting its.
Well, we saw 2 squadrons of American fighter pilots flying F-15s, shooting down missiles that were on their way to targets in Israel. Ambassador, are you suggesting that we should do the same over Ukraine?
I don't see why we shouldn't, because the parallel is the same. These are unmanned missiles, unmanned drones that are going to kill civilians. We have the ability to do this. It's not threatening anybody. It's purely a humanitarian gesture to protect lives. So I don't see why we wouldn't be willing to do that. And it doesn't have to be aircraft and pilots. There are air defense systems, Patriot missile systems, other systems that can be used to augment what Ukraine is already able to do. And same thing with Israel. We should continue doing what we're doing to protect Israel.
Well, that would be quite a development. We were afraid to even provide F-16s. My goodness, to suggest that American fighter pilots might be directly involved, even if it's an unmanned aircraft, wouldn't that be escalatory in the eyes of Russia?
Well, in the eyes of Russia, perhaps. But Russia is doing everything it can to take over Ukraine. The Ukrainians are fighting for their lives. We have to recognize that this is a war for them. It's a war of survival. And it's also a brutal war crime that Russia's engaged in, both crime of aggression as well as this deliberate attacks on civilians every night.
Ambassador, we've heard a lot about a closing window in Ukraine. We know that they're running short on ammunition and on money. Even if this gets passed today, it's going to take time to make the shells and, in some cases, the missiles that they need to defend themselves. How much time does Ukraine really have?
Well, first off, I would like to think that our military has made preparations so that they will have put the stuff on pallets, packaged it up, have it in Poland perhaps already, so it is ready to be deployed as quickly as possible. They're just waiting for the budget authority. That's what I would like to think is already happening. And as far as Ukraine goes, it's twofold. They are losing ground on the front lines little by little already because they don't have the ammunition to push back. So it's maybe a ratio of 1 to 10 in terms of artillery, or even 1 to 12 is what I heard recently. That's one problem. But then the other is that Ukraine is going to fight to defend itself, its capital city, Kyiv, the people, the population, in whatever means they have to. So including guerrilla warfare, if it ends up being that, they're not going to be giving up on their own freedom.